Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Denali, and this is a series where I sit in my car and I talk about things that are timely in my reselling business or perhaps my life. Hello, I just got back from a vacation. If you've been following my channel for a while, you can probably guess where I was. Yes, it was California. We went for a short little trip for a friend and my husband's 40th birthday. We went to Disneyland. I'll be 40 soon, kind of crazy. But anyways, what I wanted to talk about today with you is regarding getting a lease for your commercial space. As you know, if you're not new here, I am going to be moving into my new office space in basically the next 2 months. And part of what comes with that is a new commercial lease from a new landlord. And I don't know if some commercial leases are shorter or longer, but the ones that I've experienced are pretty long and have multiple pages. And so the last commercial lease that I got into for my current warehouse space was pretty long. It was a hefty packet, and at my parents' suggestion, they said that I should get an attorney to review the lease packet, which I'll be honest with you, I probably would have just signed. And so in this instance, my parents were right. And I would say they don't watch my videos and they'll never see that, but they've actually been watching my videos recently, so they'll see that. So they're welcome for hearing that. But they were right to have somebody review it because there were a lot of issues or things that I took issue with in the current lease that I was in, but we made adjustments to. And then I'll talk to you about my new lease upcoming. So in my last one, I did send it off to an attorney, and I think the final cost of it came to about $500, which, listen, that's not exciting. I am frugal. I think that's the right word for myself. I'm frugal and in some instances, and I don't like having to pay for things that I don't deem necessary. Well, in the end, I realized that this was necessary. But yeah, the idea of it is not fun, but it is a business expense. So just keep that in mind when, you have to think about paying for that. I did use somebody who does professionally review commercial leases or is a commercial real estate attorney. So you can find somebody specialized in that to do that for you. So I suggest seeking that out. But with the warehouse one that I sent to them, there were a lot of bullet points that they sent back. And some of it was stuff that I didn't necessarily need to change. But they were just kind of pointing out hey, heads up, this does say this in here. You might want to keep an eye out for it. Some stuff was small. I think one bullet point, for instance, was it just assumed that we were going to be a storefront and have customers. And so it actually said that we had to be open X number of days a week. And I think it did say 7 days a week. And the hours were 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. And so that was something that I ended up having striked out, redlined, whatever the word might be, from the lease. So that's just a small example of something. Another one was maintaining the front of the property. However, I do pay a triple net, which the triple net usually includes stuff like property maintenance. And so that was just something that I could bring up or have a question about. Another one, I guess the most egregious one, was on the the upkeep and maintenance of the property, but also included a remodel and refurbishment. So my initial lease that I was given actually said it would be 5 years. I ended up having it adjusted down to 3 years, and this could have been in a 3-year lease as well. The year that it would have kicked in just would have changed. However, in the 5-year agreement, in the 4th year that I would have been here, I would have had to do a full remodel on the unit at my own expense. And it actually said that the version of the remodel would have to be, I can't remember the words verbatim, but it was something like first class condition. So basically a really, really expensive remodel I would have had to have done at my own expense for the landlord's benefit. Now, the attorney did point out that it was a little bit unusual, especially the words first class condition. And so that was just something I ended up having taken out, which again, it was no problem. All the stuff that I asked to be taken out was taken out. I suppose if there was something like unreasonable on my part that was maybe standard, like is standard in general, but then I was asking to be taken out, then maybe it would have been disputed. But that was no problem, and they did take it out. But I'm really glad that I did hire an attorney, because I don't know if I would have caught that, right? I mean, we're all different. You know, some people would probably, you know, go over their lease agreement with a fine tooth comb. Is that the word? Or is that the saying? Somebody else may have done that. I'm just not that type of person, and that's something maybe I would have missed. Another thing too was the insurance policy that they did require here. I didn't take issue with it, but it was a very expensive policy, and even my attorney did think that it was a little bit high, some of the amounts. I could have adjusted it, but to be honest, I have a lot of expensive inventory in my space, and so if anything did happen to it, or, you know, I just have a lot of inventory and it's all expensive in general, right? It all cost me money at one point. I did want to have it covered. So I don't think I had anything changed about the policy, but somebody else may, you know, would have maybe wanted to negotiate the amount down that they would have had to have on the place, because every year I do have to provide a letter of coverage to the landlord showing that I have that policy. So it's not something that you can just sign off on. You actually like have to follow through and get that policy. And let me tell you, those policies are expensive. I think last year, off the top of my head, for the year, I want to say it was like $4,000. So just for a little bit of perspective, annually it cost me about $4,000. So those were some things that were, in my opinion, really important factors to keep in mind. There were some other small things that I maybe wouldn't have caught, and some things that even when I bounced it back to the property manager, they were like, oh yeah, that's not a problem, we can take that out. Because a lot of times I think that these lease agreements that the property managers are using, or the landlords are using, they're old. They've had them for forever, and they get people to keep signing off on them. And so they don't really change them or update them, because it probably came in some like property management 101 book. So anyways, there's some stuff that they have no problem with, you know, taking out, because it's probably not going to apply anyways. Now with my new lease agreement, once again, I sent it straight off to the attorney for their review. And luckily, what they bounced back was really nothing. There wasn't anything that was too abnormal. I think there was one spot in the lease that it just actually had a different business's name, you know, again, because the landlords, you know, they're just using the same contract that they probably used with the last tenant that they signed on. And so they had no problem, or, you know, just taking that out. And then I'm trying to think what the other issue was. It was something so small like that. Maybe it had to do with operating hours, and I just won't be open for business. You know, I'm not just like a walk-in brick and mortar store. So that's great. So, you know, you might think like, oh, that's a bummer, you have to pay $500 for it to be nothing. But sometimes that money is just the peace of mind. And again, like I said, it's a business expense. And when you're entering into this really you know, long contract that you are going to have to personally guarantee, right? That's usually a part of leases, in my experience as well, is the landlords want a personal guarantee, so that if you don't, you know, if something happens to your business and you try and bounce early, they do want you to personally guarantee the space. And that's ultimately, you know, it's not going to fall back on the business, it's going to fall back on you. So when you are committing to pay paying thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of dollars over the course of a few years, what's $500, right? To really protect yourself in that way. So if you are considering getting a commercial space, really consider having somebody review your lease. I will say, when I was at my month-to-month space, I didn't. I didn't do that. If I went back to a month-to-month space, maybe I would. The place that I was at, the month-to-month space that I was at, was really intended for like small businesses to come and go. And to be honest, there wasn't anything abnormal. I actually really loved that space. It was great. If they had larger units, I would, and they were closer to my house, I would totally go back, or I would recommend it to somebody else. You know, there's of course like pros and cons to everything, but as a small business owner, being able to go month to month somewhere is really nice, because as a small business owner, month to month, you don't always know how your business is doing, especially when you're starting out and growing. So that's some food for thought here on this Wednesday morning. I just wanted to check in and kind of give you a little update on what's going on with the move. I'm still working through inventory. It is still not a sexy job. I still don't love doing it, but I am working my way through the inventory. There's a lot of stuff that I've purged, and then there's a lot of stuff that we've actually added back on that just, you know, as I talked about in my last video, if you didn't see that, stuff that's just fallen off platforms for whatever reason. So it's like the number has come down, but then it kind of goes back up a little, but then it comes down, it goes back. I don't know. Overall, the number is coming down. I don't love seeing it go back up, but overall it's going down, and stuff is selling, so that's great as well also. So anyways, I will see you guys in my next video. Talk to you later. Bye.